Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivardhari
Yashodanandana Praja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Praja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Munatira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. We're on Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 23. 1.2.23. The previous verse said, Therefore, certainly since time immemorial, all transcendentalists have been rendering devotional service to Lord Krishna with great delight because it's enlivening to the self. Today's verse, Sattvam Rajastama iti prakritir gunastair yuktaf paraf purusha eka ihasya tatte stityadaye harivirinchi hareti samnya shreyangsi tatra kalu sattvatano granamsyu. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. Srila Prabhupada's purport. That Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary parts, should be rendered devotional service, as explained above, is confirmed by this statement. Lord Sri Krishna and all his plenary parts are Vishnu Tattva, or the Lordship of Godhead. From Sri Krishna, the next manifestation is Baladeva. From Baladeva is Sankarshana. From Sankarshana is Narayana. From Narayana there is the second Sankarshana, and from this Sankarshana the Vishnu Purusha avatars. The Vishnu, or the deity of the quality of goodness in the material world, is the Purusha avatar known as Kshirodkshayi Vishnu, or Paramatma. Brahma is the deity of Rajas, passion, and Shiva of ignorance. They are the three departmental heads of the three qualities of this mature world. Creation is made possible by the goodness of Vishnu, and when it requires to be this is I think a typo.
Yeah, I think this is.
What does it say in here?
And when it requires to be destroyed.
No, creation is made possible by the passion of Brahma, right?
Yeah. And his endeavor. Oh, no, sorry, I'm in the wrong spot.
Yeah, there's a typo here.
Creation is made possible by Brahma's quality of passion and his endeavor.
Yeah, creation is made possible by Brahma's passion and his endeavor.
Mm.
And when it requires to be destroyed, Lord Shiva does it by the Tarnava Nritya.
Mm.
The materialists and the foolish human beings worship Brahma and Shiva, respectively. But the pure transcendentalists worship the form of goodness, Vishnu, in his various forms. Vishnu is manifested by his millions and billions of integrated forms and separated forms. The integrated forms are called Godhead, and the separated forms are called the living entities, or the jivas. Both the jivas and Godhead have their original spiritual forms. Jivas are sometimes subjected to the control of material energy, but the Vishnu forms are always controllers of this energy. When Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, appears in the material world, he comes to deliver the conditioned living beings who are under the material energy. Such living beings appear in the material world with intentions of being lords, and thus they become entrapped by the three modes of nature. As such, the living entities have to change their material coverings for undergoing different terms of imprisonment. The prison house of the material world is created by Brahma under instruction of the personality of Godhead, and at the conclusion of a kalpa, the whole thing is destroyed by Shiva. But as far as maintenance of the prison house is concerned, it is done by Vishnu, as much as the state prison house is maintained by the state. Anyone therefore who wishes to get out of this prison house of material existence, which is full of misery like repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age, must please Lord Vishnu for such liberation. Lord Vishnu is worshipped by devotional service only. And if anyone has to continue prison life in the material world, he may ask for relative facilities, for temporary relief from the different demigods like Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Varuna. No demigod, however, can release the imprisoned living being from the conditioned life of material existence. This can be done only by Vishnu. Therefore, the ultimate benefit may be derived from Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. So Krishna is transcendental. But the material world there's a need for the material world. And for the material world to be manifested and go on and to operate as it does, there has to be the three modes of nature and what are called guna avatars. Avatar is a Sanskrit word that's found its way into English, means that which, ava means like to descend, and tara means to cross over, that which crosses over and descends, from a transcendental place. So there are different there are different categories of avatars of the Lord, and the guna avatars are the three that are actually administering over the modes of nature. So the mode of ignorance is administered by Lord Shiva. He's a very advanced living entity. He's actually not exactly a living entity. He's basically the form of the Lord when he's in touch with the modes of nature. And Brahma is the highest of all the living entities, so he has the administration of the mode of passion. The Lord himself comes as a form of Vishnu to administer the mode of goodness, the most important of the modes. If you think about these aspects of reality, creation, maintenance, and destruction. If you consider like the amount of work and care it takes to make a sandcastle is like, somewhat some amount of work. It takes like less work to destroy it. Really, it takes the least amount of work to destroy something, but it takes a great deal of work to maintain a sandcastle or anything else. Right? Creating a material body for a human being involves copulation and 9 months of careful gestation, and then you have to raise it. The maintenance is there, right? So there's still creation because the body is still growing, but when it reaches adulthood, it's like a lifetime of maintenance actually. And destruction is like that. You don't take care of it. It's like with anything, a car, a body, the world. So maintenance is actually the most tricky of all the different things. In the material world, in material consciousness, we really glorify creation because we're, by and large, intoxicated with the mode of passion. And so somebody who comes up with a new idea is considered a great person. Somebody who invents something or creates a work of art, that's very much glorified. And these moments of creation where it's like, oh, there's a new baby, there's a new car, there's a new iPhone, there's a new this, are glorified, especially by those who are in the mode of passion. But creation has its place. Actually, maintenance is much more important. And we can see that's the case because we don't actually ever really create anything anyway. We're just taking whatever is there from the modes of nature and utilizing our intelligence to represent it. And in the ultimate issue, if we can't hold on to what we have, we don't really have anything. So the nature of the material world is we don't actually hold on to anything because it's all temporary. That's what the material world means. One of the words to describe material creation, material reality is bhava. Bhava means that which is coming into being, right? Coming into being means it wasn't in being before, it didn't exist, and then it comes into existence, and then it leaves existence. So the material world is a place where that's always happening. Everything has a beginning and an end. So maintenance is relative here. It's just like how long can we maintain it before it goes under the waves, before it's destroyed. However, it's very important because otherwise what you have with a human society without a focus on maintenance is you have kind of like a intoxicated stumbling around between periodic experiences of creation, punctuating an ongoing experience of destruction. Nothing actually really lasts, which is profoundly disturbing for the living entity. There has to be some stability. There has to be some, even relative, and it is relative in the world, there has to be some relative peace, some relative reliability. And only the mode of goodness can manifest that because it's a mode of maintenance. So having a lifestyle that is primarily in the mode of goodness is really useful because it creates a sense of stability. It creates a sense of eternality, even if it's just temporary in this world. It gives us a hint, it gives us an indication of our real self. And our real self is eternal. So in spiritual life, we're less interested in creating something than we are in receiving something that already exists. That's what spiritual life means, right? Material life is like, make something of yourself, I did it my way. I'm a self-made man, People write their biography, autobiography, someone writes a biography for you. It's like they really like represented their own vision for the world and left a mark. That's like the trademark of the mode of passion. Like you left a mark. You're inimitably you. No one else could be you the way you were you. And spirituality in the mode of goodness really means like I already am something. I'm trying to realize that again. I'm trying to reconnect with that. religio. I'm trying to religion. We're trying to reconnect with that which already exists. I didn't create it, right? Sir Isaac Newton didn't create the law of gravity. He just like, wait a minute, this is actually a thing. It was already a thing, right? So like recognizing that which already exists, whether it's in the material world, in nature, in our own bodies, that which already exists, and honoring it and remembering it is the mode of goodness. Otherwise, we can have the experience of learning, and we'll have the experience of forgetting, but we won't have the experience of remembering. Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita 2:15-15. Sarvasi chaham hridi samdivishto matta smritir jnanam apohanancha. I am situated in everyone's heart, and from me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. That's the three modes. Knowledge is passion. New knowledge, I take it in. I assimilate it, now I have it. Remembrance, something I already learned, I keep. It's goodness. And forgetfulness, don't need it anymore. It's gone. Destruction, ignorance. So there's a need for all three in the material world. However, we have to go out of our way to prioritize goodness. We have to go out of our way. That's what the human body allows us to do. That's what human intelligence allows us to do. We can prioritize the mode of goodness so that we can deliberately reconnect with that which is higher. Animals can't do that. Animals have a very, very strict flow. When it's time to mate, they mate. When it's time to be born, they're born. When it's time to die, they die. They don't introspect. They don't rise above. Very small exceptions if they receive prasad or so, something like that. But human beings can actually cultivate a mode of nature. They can be like an animal if they want to. They can be like a human, or they can be like a demigod. And so ascension, materially speaking, requires cultivating the mode of goodness. So Vishnu is emblematic of that. The Lord actually takes particular guardianship, stewardship over the mode of goodness. That's how important it is. Because maintenance is the most important. It's necessary. And specifically, Kshirodakshai Vishnu is the super soul. Paramatma is in charge of the mode of goodness. The actual ontology, like how it, because we hear like Krishna, Balaram, Sankarshan, Narayan, Mahasankarshan, the Purusha avatars. Then you got Karnadakshai Vishnu, the Purusha avatars. You got Garbhadakshai Vishnu. Then Kshirodakshai Vishnu, and he's a super soul. All that, it's like a whole thing. That's the next chapter. A partial list of incarnations, how they manifest in what order, although they're not actually like older or younger than each other in spiritual reality. Everything is eternal, but still there's a way in which one is deriving from something else. One candle is lighting another candle. But Paramatma, Kshirodakshai Vishnu, is considered to be the super soul of all living entities. He's situated in everybody's heart. When Krishna says Sarvasi chaham hridi samdivishto, in the hridi, in the heart, I'm situated. For me, knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness come. But he's talking about that form. He's talking about the form that we can actually connect to, remember, that conscience. So that form is also overseeing the mode of goodness in the material world. So our job is to remember. Our job is to remember what we've forgotten, and once we remember it, to keep remembering it.
Right.
That's what spiritual life is, really. We're not actually making anything. You already are amazing. You already are part and parcel of Krishna. Now, that's something way more than you can ever do on your own. That required Krishna. You already are Satchit Ananda. You already are completely under his loving glance at all times. That's not a creation of our own doing. All we can do is act in it and remember it and try to apply that and try not to forget Krishna. So always remember Krishna and never forget him. Are considered to be the two essential aspects of all spiritual rules and regulations. Everything else serves these two things, right?
Yeah.
So in this way, we can see how of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form or the quality of goodness. Because that mode of goodness is so important that the Lord himself takes charge of it. And it's only that Lord, that original Lord, that actually can help us transcend. All the other entities, including Lord Shiva, who's an outstanding devotee and greater than any living entity, and even Brahma, they can't actually get us out of the material world independently. Now, Lord Shiva actually has a parampara. He has a Vaishnava parampara. So we have the Madhva Sampradaya, we have the Sri Sampradaya, we have the Rudra Sampradaya, the Kumara Sampradaya. Rudra Sampradaya is derived from Lord Shiva. He's actually the Samstapaka Acharya. He's the founder Acharya of that Sampradaya. But he's not independently liberating anybody. He's the one who gave the knowledge to that Sampradaya. Just like in our Sampradaya, the originator of knowledge before the Lord, after the Lord, is Brahma. Now Brahma acts as the Acharya in this world for that Sampradaya. So if one is in that Sampradaya, ultimately, Brahma is there, but that means he's in service to Krishna. No living entity can independently liberate anyone else, even Shiva, even Lakshmi, because she's actually ahead of a Sampradaya too, and she's the Lord's energy. She's actually completely connected to him as well. The idea is that to worship the Creator, not the creation. That's the main thing, because it's really, by conditioning, it's natural and easy to worship the creation in some way or another. And ultimately, if you get up to the level of the demigods, they are astonishingly powerful, long-lived, very intelligent, extremely empowered in many ways. And it's important to recognize that's also coming from the Lord. Mm-hmm. And as long as we recognize that there's an eternal source, that the same source that empowered Lord Shiva to do everything he's doing, and Indra to live on the heavenly planets, and empowered me with my human intelligence, and empowers the ant to have this little ant body that can fall off of a desk and land on the ground and keep walking, and empowered the lion, and empowered, as long as we recognize there's this one source that's empowering everybody materially, worship that source, then we actually are fit for transcendence, because that's what can actually qualify us to leave the material world, is to be interested in that source. Otherwise, it's really just business as usual here, and everybody is one way or another very, very interested, intoxicated really, with some aspect of the creation. And therefore, they're sending the message to Supreme that I don't want to leave here. I want to stay and keep playing in this sandbox. Give me more toys. I like this toy. I don't like that toy. And so they take birth again. Prabhupada puts it. Such living beings appear in the material world with intentions of being lords, and thus to become entrapped by the three modes of nature. As such, the living entities have to change their material coverings for undergoing different terms of imprisonment. Just more sandbox time. But if you're saying, I actually want to know who built this sandbox for me, what's going on outside of it? What's real life? Who is my supreme father and mother? Who am I? What am I doing here? What is reality beyond the temporary? Then you're actually inquiring after Vishnu, after the Lord. And so for that, mode of goodness lifestyle helps, and worshiping the Lord is strictly necessary. Even if you're not in the mode of goodness, he'll help you get there, and ultimately to transcend it. Hare Krishna. So just to summarize, we heard about the qualitative incarnations, the guna avatars. Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu are considered to be guna avatars, overseeing passion, ignorance, and goodness, respectively. Talked a little bit about culture under these influences of the modes of nature, and how destruction is very easy, creation is a little more difficult, and maintenance is the most difficult. But in our culture right now, materially, we're very interested in creation, and so we glorify passionate, creative people and acts of creation. We don't really pay attention to maintenance. In fact, there's a thing called what do they call it in economics, where they build something that's designed to fall apart.
Planned obsolescence.
Yeah, planned obsolescence. It's how do we get people to spend more money?
Yeah.
Well, we can't make the best quality thing we know how to make, because if we do that, they'll just buy it once. Mm-hmm. And we can't convince them to spend 10 times the amount of money for it. So let's just make it half as good. Mm-hmm. And it broke down. Time to buy a new one.
Apple.
That's a culture of landfills rising.
All the chargers.
But in the mode of passion, in the mode of goodness, it's maintenance. And so spiritually, that translates to not what can I make of myself? What am I already that could never be made by me? That's already something so great. How do I recognize that? What is Satchit Ananda? Who am I? What is consciousness, right? Mm. And therefore, who is the source of that? These are the kinds of questions of somebody who is more conditioned by goodness, and goodness helps. And so, talking about spirituality in that mode, talking about reconnecting that which already is, and a little bit about the sandbox of the material world, and how most people are really just telling the Lord, I want to stay here. But one who worships the Creator rather than the creation is saying, I want to get out of here and come to you. Hare Krishna. So now let's take any comments or questions or reflections on the modes of nature, the Guna avatars, transcendence, and remembrance.
I really love the sandcastle analogy. It really like contextualizes the three modes and the three avatars in a way that's really understandable, and how it is so much harder to keep the sandcastle up because then the waves are coming in and out, and like, did you do it far enough from the water, and all of that, and it is definitely harder to build. It's hard to build it, way harder to maintain it, and it's like in a moment you can destroy it all, and so I was thinking about how I can like bolster my life, have guardrails in my life so that in a moment I don't just destroy everything I've co-created with Krishna, right? It's like in a moment it can just all poof, like by really one action, or like that. And it is so much more materially challenging to maintain that sandcastle, to maintain the mode of goodness, to maintain your spiritual practice, to choose to continue to sit and chant and to hear and to associate with devotees and to eat food that's nourishing and offer your food. It is materially more challenging. However, it is, it's so much more rewarding. And I can feel the way that actually has changed the energy of my life, my consciousness, the people around me, our home, things like that. And the one last thing I'll say is that I also just love how again and again and again we hear it again and again and again, and we need to hear it again and again and again. It's like all the rules, all the regulations, all the Shastra, all the texts, all the practices come back to those two simple, most foundational truths in our movement, which is always remember Krishna and never forget him.
The work in the mode of goodness is not really glorified in our culture. It's considered to be tedious, difficult, and it can be difficult. If you think about like the sandcastle analogy, you can praise a child who makes a sandcastle. Like, it takes a certain amount of vision to do that,
and we do,
and that's good. And this other kid who comes along and just kicks other people's sandcastles down, they're kind of like a bully. There's that.
Jerk.
And then there's like, what about somebody who stays there and makes sure it's like not too wet but wet enough,
waters it,
and like
we think there's something wrong with them. We're like, what are you doing?
It's not easy to do. So those parts of society where it's like, my job is to like help your body to not fall apart, to maintain it. It takes work, and it can be less glorified or sexy. It's like, this person is just doing the very necessary work day to day, moment to moment, to keep a thing going, but it's actually so important.
Like construction workers, or like that are working. I was thinking about the bridges that we were driving over in New York City. Like, someone said they're constantly working on the bridge.
They have to. If they don't, then it's just like so much wasted energy making anything you're not going to take care of.
Right.
That's where most of the work is. And it can be like routine work, but it's really important to do it with attention. That's where you get the gains. Like, it takes a little bit of work to create an exercise routine, and it takes a lot of work to maintain it. But if you do that, you get the benefits. Otherwise, you have like a flash in the pan exercise routine for a week or a month or even a year, and it's like, then what happened? It just fell by the wayside. So spiritually, it's like, you should take a little bit of time. We should take a little bit of time to, under guidance, create a meaningful spiritual practice for ourselves, and take also a little bit of time to prune out the parts of our life that are not useful. I want to have less of that stuff, less of that. I can use some ignorance and destroy that. I don't want that anymore. But then every day invest in the maintenance of like, now I'm going to do it. And where it's just you and the names, and you and the books, and you and the Sangha, and it's like, that's where most of the attention goes. We don't actually have to create so much of a practice. Sometimes we have to adjust, like, now I'm going to chant more or read more and move on to another book. Maybe under consultation, I'll see like what the new aspect of my practice is. But mostly it's maintenance, mostly, with gradual increase, quality and quantity. That's where most of the work is. And it's important to recognize that's where most of the gains are. Just like going to the gym, whatever it is, 3 to 4 times a week is where your gains are, not like creating the best way of exercising. Like in sports too. That's what good coaches say. You win with the fundamentals. Don't try to find a new way of creating statistics to figure out what the best baseball swing is. Don't spend your energy creating the perfect body. Learn how to bat. Learn a good stance. Learn how to throw a ball. Learn your fundamentals and practice them day in and day out so you're really good at them. That's how you win a baseball. In any sport, learn your fundamentals and maintain that. Keep it going. As the world's greatest violinist said one time, if I don't practice for 1 day, I notice it. If I don't practice for 2 days, my teacher notices it. And if I don't practice for 3 days, the whole world notices it. So he knows to stay on top, he had to practice every single day, probably for hours and hours and hours to be at that level. That's maintenance. So it's like that with our practice. Only we're getting like a lot of nourishment. It's not like actually grunt work. We're getting so much joy from connecting with Krishna every day.
Right.
And if we do that, then we maintain ourselves above modes of nature and fit for like actually a relationship with Krishna.
Yeah. Maintenance is a form of service.
Yeah, it really is.
And that's like one of the fundamentals of bhakti is devotional service. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to see that parallel that Krishna maintains the world, maintains us through this, and maintains everything. That's his service. And our services, we have service as well by just maintaining our relationships or our families or sangha or whatever. And that's service. And that's where our true nature really is. So that's where our true enjoyment is in that act of service. Not necessarily the result, which is clouded by modes of material nature. But that's my thought.
Yeah. And ultimately, even if your job is to create something, you're really just maintaining what Krishna has already created.
Right.
So whether you're just like taking care of your body, it's like, okay, Krishna, you give me this body, I'm going to honor it and your gifts by maintaining it. I'm going to maintain my relationship, I'm going to maintain my practice. Or you're like, some kind of an artist or something where there's a blank canvas and you create something on the canvas. It's like, okay, but as a devotee, I'm recognizing that inspiration came from Krishna. The deft movements of my hand and my vision comes from Krishna. All this comes from Krishna. I'm just representing something he already saw himself with his transcendental vision. Imperfectly. I'm just doing that. That's actually his work. I'm just trying to manifest and maintain what he already created himself. So in that sense, we're really just like in a humble mode of like, it was already made. I didn't make it. It's actually his thing. I'm just here as a servant to it. That's a devotee consciousness.
Right.
You can do anything. You can be a janitor. You can do whatever you like. It's like I'm maintaining this clean hallway by mopping it of dirt.
Yeah, and service is, flower seva and garlands and cooking for a wedding and, the jobs that you do and the plants that you care for and, all of this, and chanting japa is service, right? And hearing and reading is service, right? It's like expanding even, it's like the mindset in which you're doing something, right, as selfless service and directed towards Krishna, that it can and then when you're also engaging with other devotees in that way, it like adds a whole other level and element and energy. So
Srila Prabhupada was fond of saying that the highest service is to help others come to bhakti. One time in Los Angeles, at least one time, he was talking to the devotees and he said, the highest is to help other people come to bhakti, but higher than that is to make sure that you help yourself, right? And it can seem like very mundane or not as noble, but it's actually, again, the dead paramedic can't save anybody. So chanting japa is a service. If you're in the modes of nature, then getting out of them is a service to everybody, because then what can you do empowered by Krishna? Who knows? But we won't know until we get out of the modes of nature. It's like if we don't actually invest in straightforwardly chanting with attention in the early parts of the day as much as we can, then we don't really know what our contribution can be. And we're giving Krishna a really blunt instrument to work with. But if we decide like, okay, here in the morning, the sun's not even up or maybe, and like no one's watching, but I'm going to try to invest in my relationship with Krishna, that's where you get the gains. That's where it happens. Just like the Olympic athletes wake up real early. When everyone else is snoozing their alarm clock away, they're getting the gains, they get them the gold medal. So you have to just recognize that this is really important. It's not just a thing we do. It's really, really vital.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what qualifies us to do everything else, including creating devotional communities and creating systems to take care of devotees and protecting cows and distributing billions of books and manifesting glorious deity worship and everything else. It comes from like somebody somewhere like humbly chanting Hare Krishna. That's what Prabhupada did. He just like chanted so much japa, had so much faith in the holy name that he manifested a world movement from the force of that sincere, humble practice. But that's what did it. It was that humble practice. That's what attracted Krishna's mercy. It wasn't like Prabhupada's this 5'6" powerhouse of material creation. Like he's not a material guru.
No.
He's not like these, these material gurus who teach you how to be like paragons of the mode of passion. He was like a humble servant, and Krishna made everything else happen. Krishna's got all the energies. He's got all the money, all the like raw materials, all the intelligence, all that's there. Just try to get Krishna on your side, and he'll make it happen. Okay. More reflections, questions?
I think it's just, so this conversation has been really interesting. It's everything we're talking about, like for instance, with the, custodians, janitors, okay? They get a bad rap. They're underrated. They're always the butt of jokes. They're always the opposite of, oh, the rich man or the janitor, right?
Right.
So
But
interesting.
what happens if there's
Frank?
a janitor strike or a garbage man strike? Like,
Right. Well, and
Oops.
here's the shocker. Frank just retired for 30 years of being a custodian of one of our schools in the area, and completely underrated. But he's got a boiler license and he keeps the lights on. It's the cleanest school in the district. Like, you know what I mean? And there's things that if that foundational stuff wasn't there, none of the teachers, the principals, or the other people that are more glorified in our society would be able to do anything that they do.
Right.
And it's interesting because, isn't it, when we talk about the goodness, passion, and ignorance, and we look at the mode of goodness, like it's the more humble things. It's the things that we do that are more quiet, that just that allow us to allow us and others to thrive. And that's those things. That's the custodial nature. That's that humble nature of just doing the things that keep the lights on, and that are allow everybody else to do what they need to do. I just thought it was really an interesting conversation. Because with it's personally with Frank, like every time he hears somebody, put down the custodians and the janitor, I always get this little grunt out of him, because he's a brilliant man. He's very smart. He's a musician. It was a job,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the material world is not like, it's not so linear to say something is in this mode. There's like also how you do it, right? So somebody who shows up every day and pays attention to the details is operating in the mode of goodness, regardless of whether their job is to clean toilets or anything. That's goodness. So that'll make the execution of their job better. That'll get better results. So for us, the application of that principle is like, it isn't so important what I'm doing, as long as what I'm doing isn't like grossly ignorant. It's more important how I'm doing it. The consciousness I bring, the attentiveness, the humility. That's where I can manifest goodness. And that's where the payoff is, right? That's where the excellence is. Because you could be a janitor in the mode of ignorance too. Just like you can be a teacher or a school administrator in the mode of ignorance. It's not that your job defines you, it's how you do it that really is really the expression of your particular modality.
Yeah.
It's very reminiscent of the Japanese philosophy of ikigai.
Yeah.
Ikigai's an ode to it's basically dharma. You have a set prescribed service that you kind of fall into in your life, and you just do it as well as you can, because it brings bigger fulfillment in the end, helps find a means, helps you be sustained in the material world, but also can bring you into a more spiritual alignment. Just something I was made Tanya, that was great input. Thank you. It was just made me think of that.
And then there has to be worship of the Lord, because what we see in cultures where there isn't that, like for example, there are a lot of cultures, in East Asia which have done a tremendous job of like expressing how to live a life in the mode of goodness, be dutiful and detail oriented and what have you. And if there's like not a clear indication of transcendence, is that people just like live and die like that.
Right.
The ultimate lesson for us is that even the most maturely advanced life, which is a life which focuses on goodness, is not enough without Krishna. It's just not. So the happiness you get in the mode of goodness is superior than that which you get in the mode of passion, but it's still not enough for the soul. It's just that's a good foundation for your practice, right? Because whatever mode of nature you're in is like, it's like the when you're doing like a high-rise trapeze act, you have like a net under you, right? So if you fall, you don't die, you hit the net, right? So whatever mode you've cultivated is your net. That if you're in transcendence most of the time because you're chanting Hare Krishna and chanting, serving with devotees and reading the Shastra, what happens if you fall into Maya? Well, what happens is that you'll fall into whatever mode of nature you predominantly are. If you've cultivated a mode of goodness lifestyle, then your Maya is like, you still wake up early and you're kind of like forgetful of Krishna, but you're, still kind and peaceful and introspective, and it's easier to get back up to transcendence. If you're in the mode of passion, your Maya is like, maybe Bhakti is not so important. Maybe I should go like create the next great piece of art, or like, work on my body and cultivate it. If your Maya is ignorance, then you're out in an alleyway shooting heroin or something when you fall down from Krishna consciousness.
Yeah.
So better to be, your trapeze net is in the mode of goodness. So that's like, okay, I'm in Maya, but it's manageable. I'll get back to Krishna like a lot easier.
Right. I think of the modes of passion, good, like in those natural states of being in the mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, as like tension of a spring. Modes of ignorance, if you fall out of transcendence and you go into there's not a lot of tension in that spring, so it doesn't throw you back out. You actually stay in Maya more. Passion is a little more stiffer spring, but goodness helps you bounce back as the toughest spring. That's how I perceive it anyway.
Yeah.
So it's good to try to change your lifestyle around that. If you have to be in the mode of material nature, might as well be in the mode of goodness.
And you got to worship somebody, so you may as well worship the transcendence.
And that's, you don't want to be in the springs.
Yeah. All right. Any more reflections before we end?
Could you spell the word pradaya? Is it pradaya?
When did I say that?
Sampradaya.
Oh, Sampradaya.
Yep.
Shiva Sampradaya.
Oh yeah, Sampradaya. Yeah, SAM.
Yep.
PRADAYA. Sampradaya means like a succession. The literal meaning of Sampradaya is a bequeathment, like a gift.
Mm-hmm.
The line that gives you the gift. This is the line of devotees that are passing on the gift that Krishna gave them, the bequeathment. Yeah, Sam means complete, and Pradaya means like present or gift.
I mean, like these are teachers in our Sampradaya that go all the way up to Brahma.
Yeah, the example that Prabhupada gave is that you can have a really large tree with beautiful, luscious fruits at the top of the tree, but you can't just drop the fruit from the top of the tree, it'll splat in the ground. So you have this succession of people handing off hand to hand from the top of the tree. Like the best fruits are actually at the top because that's where the sun hits. This ripe fruit, pass it, and then they take it perfectly without changing it, without crushing it, without dropping it. They pass it on, teacher to student, and here you are, Joe or Jane Doe at the bottom, like, what's going on here? And boop, there it is, the complete Sampradaya, the complete gift in your hand. Beautiful Hare Krishna mantra, the whole culture. This is delicious. So we're actually not creating it.
Did
It
you
was
offer
already
that?
there. Well, not the first time you walk in the door, you're not offering anything. You're just like, well, I like this. This is tasty. And then later you learn to. So we're not creating it. It was already, the tree made it. Krishna made it. We're just being bequeathed it. We're being handed down by our merciful teachers. They're doing the work for us until we start to kind of like wake up and be like, wow, okay, thank you. And then maybe we hand it off to someone else. Why not? But be sure to get it about yourself. Stay nourished. Okay. Martin, anything?
I was just going to say the completely unrelated, not but it is the purport. This is the first purport I've read where he explains the word Godhead.
Ah,
I was like, and I've been actually thinking about this for like the past month. I'm like, we always say this phrase "Supreme Personality of Godhead." I think I know what it means, but I've never seen it written down like the in the purport. So I'm going to go back and reread that.
the
purport.
integrated forms.
Yeah.
Vishnu is manifested by his millions and billions of integrated forms and separated forms. The integrated forms are called Godhead.
Yeah.
And the separated forms are called the living entities or the jivas. Yeah, that's that was a Christian thing, Godhead, that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta borrowed because it was more understandable for a British audience. And Srila Prabhupada
Gotcha.
got it from a spiritual master to refer to the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah. The integrated forms are Godhead, separated forms are jivas. So we're jivas, we're separated forms.
Yeah.
Jai.
Jai.
Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Your Srila Prabhupada, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Shri Radha Govinda, please help us to reconnect with that which already exists, is already glorious, and isn't created by anybody but you, and is ever existing. Help us to just remember that and not lose it, and help us to help others to reconnect to that too. Om Tat Sat. Haribol.
Haribol.
Now we can offer our respectful obeisance to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They're just like desire trees can fulfill the desires of everyone, are full of compassion for the fallen souls.
Patubhischa kripa sindhu.
Have a great day, everyone.